E agora, vai go live? Acho que eu não pus o countdown.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon,
Yeah.
good evening to everyone. We are very happy to be here together again today, still without Stevan, which is on holiday. And but luckily, it's really a pleasure to have here with us Elsa Rossi and Silvia Gibbons. I hand over
Yes,
to you, Elsa.
yes. As always, we are grateful for your presence, your friendship, and your willingness to reflect with us. It is also my great pleasure to be here with Charles and Silvia. As Charles said, Stevan is with his family on holiday. Thank you both for being here once again, friends and the spiritual benefactors. Tonight is not simply a discussion about reincarnation. Tonight is an invitation to reflect in our own lives. Before we begin our discussion, I would like to invite everyone watching us to reflect on one question. Homework. Spiritism does not invite us to live with guilt about our past. It invites us to become responsible for our future. Perhaps one of the greatest messages of reincarnation is not simply that we have lived before, but that every choice we make today is already helping to build our tomorrow. So, I would like to invite you all to reflect silently. Could it be that many of the difficulties we experience today are not simply matters of chance, but at least in part, the consequences of choices we have made in this life or in the previous existences? So, as we talking before, we have one life, many reincarnations, many existences. So, now I over to Silvia, to greetings and Charles, and we carry on with our questions and answers. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Hello, Elsa and Charles. Nice to be here with you today. I couldn't manage, and it's lovely and an interesting subject that I'm very interested in. And I think is a very good opportunity for us to explain about reincarnation and new lives and existences and everything according to the teachings of the spirits. Because although reincarnation is one of the oldest of learning, the teachings in many cultures, the knowledge that we have to the spirits and in spiritism is differs a little bit in relation to how we reincarnate and everything. So this is a very good opportunity, and I hope everyone join in, give their opinions, and ask questions. So be nice to start, and good evening, everyone, and let's have a nice meeting together.
Let's do our first reflection. I invite Charles to answer. The title, One Life, Many Existences, reframes the conventional language of reincarnation. What is the philosophical and theological significance of this reframing within Spiritist teachings? Charles?
Yes, yes, Elsa. So thank you for the question. Indeed, I mean, the spirit is body of knowledge is following the spiritualist paradigm, means we have a soul. Huh? So immediately after this statement comes more question, For instance, is the soul created at the same time as the body? Or was it existing before? If yes, where was it? Where does it go after we pass away? And so on. So the complement of explanation of the spiritist body of knowledge is the reincarnation. We have, as it is written, many existences, so many incarnations. But one life means we have one individuality, which is our spirit. It can reincarnate male, female, in different cultures, in different languages, receiving different education, and so on. So the personality or the existences will quite be different one from the other, but our spirit is always the same, and he's using this diversity of existences with the primary goal to progress, to become better, to have better knowledge, intellectually speaking, but also to become a better person, which means to be more and more in synchrony with the laws of God, with the law of justice, of love, and of charity. So that is the goal, and the spiritist body of knowledge is absolutely the philosophy which is absolutely consistent. The one who studies the spiritist body of knowledge and the spiritist philosophy will very hardly find any discrepancy or any contradiction in it. So it's a really very coherent body of knowledge. And the reincarnation is one of the key to give this coherence, because the reincarnation can explain us why there are so many diversities of situation, apparent injustice, people who are dying very young, some other people who have the whole life to learn and to study, people who are healthy, people who are ill, people who are rich, other which do not, which are lacking the necessary. So reasoning on one life, this is absolutely inconsistent with the fact that God is infinitely just and equitable. But with reincarnation, with the plurality of the lives, there in one life we can be rich, born rich, and in another life we can come poor, and so on. So reasoning on several lives, we find back this infinite justice, and we even find reason and explanation why such difficult situation sometimes happen. It's to help and to foster our spirit to progress. So it is really on the philosophical point of view, this reincarnation is a key point. On a theological point of view, in the Christian, most of the Christian religions are not admitting reincarnation, albeit the people who study a little bit better, they find a lot of signs of reincarnation. But officially, the position is no, there is resurrection, which nobody understands really what it is, but reincarnation does not exist. And whilst this, in most of the Oriental religions, they believe in the plurality of the existences in reincarnation, with some variants, of course, sometimes from human species to animals or whatsoever, which is also not confirmed by the spirit because it would not make sense. But the reincarnation is not they do not have this a priori negative about it as we are in Europe. And when we look at it on a reason, on a rational point of way, sorry, my English is a little bit difficult tonight. On a rational way, there we find this huge consistency with all we inside the spiritist philosophy, with a father, creator of everything, which is infinitely good, and which created us in order to progress, to go along with these existences, close to come closer to him. And also the law of cause and effect. We a lot of time can escape from the human justice, but we do not escape from the divine justice. And all what we have done good will come back in good to us, but what we have done wrong will also come back wrong to us. Law of action and reaction. And this is explaining why there are such difficult situations. And this, in fact, is helping us to understand that we did wrong and not to do the same wrong again the next time. So it's helping us to progress to become always better. So I think it's a short summary as an introduction.
Very nice summary. Very nice answer, Charles. And Silvia, would you like to add something very important?
Charles gave a very good explanation of about reincarnation, and the main point that reincarnation, as is taught to us by the spirits, is that is a law of progress that we need. It's a necessity that our spirit needs to come to learn, not only intellectually, but also morally, to grow, to develop, to evolve, to improve. And of course, as individuals, we improve, and also the whole of humanity. I think that's the main purpose of reincarnation. And to achieve this, we need the corporeal existences. We need to be tested somehow. Um, so that's why we are born in a body. And I think, like Charles pointed out, we are born in different races. We're born uh, in different sexes. We are women, and we men, and we reincarnate in many existences in many different lives. We develop certain things, like, say, for instance, a great musician. Um, he has achieved maybe, a highest level. So he may choose to be an engineer next time. So he will learn new different things, and we are all the time learning something. So every incarnation, every life that we have in the corporeal world, we learn new things. Of course, we learn also while we are in a spiritual world. But I think most important to understand is that, in a way, it's almost like corporeal life, being the here now, is where it's almost like what they call the anvil, isn't it? Is that where we put in practice the things that we decided to. And I think maybe we'll talk a little bit about that further on, that we are not sort of, you go and reincarnate there. Most of us, well, some of us, participate in the plan for our existence. It's not something that it just happened. You're circling in a wind and you see a body being formed, and you jump in. In spiritism, there is a lot of programming for a new life, the parents, and in many cases we participate in choosing what the experiences we want to go through according to the past. So there is quite a lot to understand, but most of it, I think, is a gift of God. It's something that is given to us so we can progress until then we evolve and you develop until the time that we do not need a further corporeal life. So, I don't know if I went too far out, but I think that there's so many, such interesting and really, really exciting subject to discuss, to talk about. So.
Yeah. I was thinking here, Silvia, sometimes people approach me, you, or other people, and say, why do certain people enter in our lives out of the blue, do a mess, contribute a lot? And people, sometimes they are lost themselves in their relationships, or they are really say, oh my God, this is a lottery, because someone is so wonderful will come to my life. So why these are relationships that continuing, that we know beyond our lifetime. What we built up here now, we carry on in good way or sometimes in bad memories. But for sure, what we think that everyone that comes toward our life as a family, as a friends, that friends you can choose, no? And families you choose there, but you come with your family that you plan to come before you born. But friends, you are here, you can choose a friend anytime. You can make a deep friendship, or you can make not a good friendship, or whatever. but with respect. But everyone that comes to our life brings something for us, isn't it? What do you think, Charles?
The lottery does not exist in the things of life, because most of the cases we are selecting according to our free will the type of existence we want. It's most of the time, in the majority of the cases, our choices. So it's a little bit difficult to sometimes to accept. Oh, but I did select to have such a disastrous, difficult incarnation, to have so many problems and so on. Most of the time, it is the case. Because again, we have to change our point of view. When we see the things from the spiritual realm, or from the spiritual point of view, we may take different decisions as when we are here with our material blinds, seeing only the present existence, and not the whole life, the whole picture, but knowing that in most of the cases we did the choice is helping us to accept, and instead of claiming and shouting, which does not resolve anything, by the way, to mobilize all our resources in order to face it, to fix it, and to solve it, and even to overcome it. And when we are mobilizing our resources, when we are in this intense activity, this is where when our soul is progressing the most, the quickest. The only exception about the choice of incarnation is for the spirits which are very in the early stage of evolution, or the spirits which are in a deep trouble, very difficult situation, who cannot make the choice by themselves. And in these cases, it's the spiritual mentors who make a choice for him, for the spirits, in order to help them to come out of this difficult situation, or to make also the first step in their evolution path towards getting more autonomy, and to be capable to make the decisions themselves soon or in the next times. So this is why when we understand this, we see also that any reasoning we can do, for instance, oh, I'm not lucky, it's bad luck and things like this. As soon as we start with this type of reasoning, when we think a little bit more, if God exists, God is maybe doing something which is not just for us. And this would be in contradiction with this infinite justice of God, you know. So if God is infinitely just, if we have a difficult life or if we have suffering, it's because it's either there is a purpose behind it for progressing, or there is a cause which led to this effect, also to help us in avoid repeating the same mistakes, the same causes, which will, at the end, will come to the same painful effect. So whatever we are facing in the spiritist point of view, the best thing is, okay, let's mobilize our resources to see how to overcome, how to alleviate it. What is the message this difficulty or this pain or this illness is willing to teach me, and to follow our progress, because these situations which are difficult are only necessary in our current state of evolution. So we know that if we overcome these difficulties, we will progress in our evolution path, and from a given point in time, there will be no suffering anymore, or no difficulties anymore, and even there will a time will come where we don't need to reincarnate anymore. But unfortunately, we are not there yet, so we have still a little bit to work in order to get there.
Very nice indeed. Sylvia, would you like to add something in the question to the Charles? Or can do another one? How to
We can
say?
go to another one. It's just that
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that Charles, oh, not really just there yet.
Okay.
We are a little bit away.
Yes.
And,
So
we have, it will depend of ourselves, isn't it? I think that's one of the important things, the number of reincarnations we have to reach the point of being a purified spirit without the need to have another life, corporeal life. It only depends on ourselves.
yeah, there are a
And
lot of things can be
this is a,
explained when we accept the reincarnation. It will be easier to live knowing that we have many existences than one entire life. So in the Spirit's book, Kardec devotes a substantial session to reincarnation and its necessity. What is the what is his core argument for why reincarnation is not only plausible but required by a just and rational God? It's something that we have to think about the answer, because this is something is one of the most important laws, yeah, that we have: reincarnating, doing our best, evolve, but we have to undergo everything that we prepare ourselves to do in order to repair, to redo things from the past. So Kardec's argument is primarily moral and rational rather than mystical. Everything with Kardec is really wonderful to understand, to read, to study, and to put in practice for our own benefit. Okay? So, would you like to comment, Charles?
Yes, so it's as I said, it's to give to the Spiritist philosophy uh, consistency. If God is infinitely just with one life only, there is something wrong, something which is not consistent. But again, God is infinitely just and gives us several opportunities to do good, to become good. Male, female, black, white, rich, poor. So everything is levelizing, you see, and becoming consistent with this infinite justice of God. So this, I would say, is the philosophical argument. But there are also some facts. Kardec did see some, but these facts have been studied mostly after him. For instance, by Gabriel Delanne. He has written a book about reincarnation, which is very interesting. There is a live in the bus web YouTube channel about a conference when we celebrated the year of Gabriel Delanne, and there was one dedicated to this book. It's very interesting. And in this book, Delanne describes, past life remembering reminiscences. Young children who they tell a lot of things with full of details and so on of a situation and a place that they ignore totally. They have never been there. And when the father or the mother or a researcher is going there to check, everything that the son has said is correct, could be confirmed. So more recently, these same studies have been done by Ian Stevenson and are continuing now being done by Jim Tucker. There is a famous case of a young boy who was remembering he has crashed in a plane and gave a lot of details. It was in Japan. The basis was so and so. The plane was this and this. My colleagues were that and that, and everything has could be checked and to be true. While this young boy had absolutely no information about it. And Ian Stevenson went even further because we didn't talk about the spiritual body yet. Our soul is accompanied by the spiritual body. And Ian Stevenson found out that some birthmarks correspond to the ones of the death in the previous life. And he could check that really going and look to the autopsy reports and so on. He's explaining this very well in his book, showing that some of the injuries have been somehow transported through the spiritual body. This is why this notion of spiritual body is important to the new physical body, and this has been documented by Ian Stevenson. It is to be noted that the spiritists, in their entirety or almost, believe in reincarnation. They are convinced about reincarnation. But the spiritualists, Anglo-Saxonic, they are convinced about the evolution, but for them, there is one life only on Earth, and the other form of existence for continuing our evolution are not on Earth. So it's a small difference between the modern spiritualists and the spiritists, but okay. Ian Stevenson is born in US. I think it's not by chance, in order to try to bring to people of his same nationality and same language some food for thought and arguments which are really pushing to this to consider this reincarnation as being a fact, to have enough evidences about it.
As Kardec also argues, Charles, that in the Spirit book, that one physical life is grossly insufficient for the moral and intellectual development required to reach spiritual perfection. The task is simply too large for a single episode. Of course, if you stop a little bit to think, doesn't matter with the religion or philosophy or beliefs that people are, if you think a little bit, that one little child born and immediately needed to operate a cancer in liver, how this could be? If God is merciful, just, how this happened? It's because reincarnation can explain everything, as you pointed, Ian Stevenson, and in Brazil, Dr. Hernani Guimarães Andrade did a lot of research and has a book with 80 cases of reincarnation, totally documented, proved in the way that is impossible not to believe. But it's still nowadays, the academic side, they are really putting question marks about this. But the life goes on. As we see in the openscience.org website, so many things are going on right now. So Kardec is really advanced for his time, what he wrote to the spirits, and brought to us all this knowledge that nowadays still people are researching, proving, and more things are coming. But we know that the importance that we can have more chance to come, reincarnate, learn more, change our behavior, our way to understand things, and come back next incarnation better, knowing a lot of things. Sometimes I say, I like music, I'd like to compose music, blah, blah, blah. But this incarnation, I'm not entitled to develop things that I already had in the past. I have to put my mind in writing or doing other things. So we are, in every incarnation, learning more skills, more things, in adding in our personalities for next time. Also, Silvia, you were talking about personality before. Silvia? Yes?
And,
Would you like to add it?
well, I'd like to expand a little bit because, in the Spirit's book, the teachings of the spirits in the Spirit's book about reincarnation, it's very important because it differs in as we said before, in many ways in which reincarnation is accepted. And I think one of the things that Kardec said, that it's not a belief, reincarnation is not a belief, is an acceptance. You either accept it or not. But going further to many researchers, Charles was talking about Dr. Ian Stevenson, who did a great work in his book, The 20 Suggestive Cases of Reincarnation. in which he did the research for the people, for the children who remember their past lives, and his teams worked and they looked for it, and many they found all those people, the people they actually found a lot of that. Another person as well that was very important in the research was Dr. Banerjee, and he worked in thousands, the Indian, sorry, you're a parapsychologist, and he worked on thousands of people, thousands of children who have spontaneous memories of past life. And I think one of the main things that as we progress in the understanding of reincarnation, now it's accepted in many people who do the study, like Banerjee and others, and Dr. Décio Iandoli in Brazil as well. He wrote this book on reincarnation. Is that it's a biological law. It has nothing to do with religion, with belief. It's part of you. It's physical. Reincarnation is physical. It's biological. It's a law. And, as we learn with the spirits, a law of progress. That's how we go through all the different things. It's very common now, especially now that we have access to so much. Somebody the other day actually was making a comment of this little girl. I think she's 4 years old or something, and she plays Paganini. You know, um, she plays the 24 Caprice, and is not as wonderful as it could be because she's such a little girl. She cannot hold a whole violin, so she has a small violin, and the sound is not as good as it could be. But how can a 6-year-old girl play things that many adult violinists is not even able to because it's extremely difficult to play? So, we see that. But I find as well that there was a program as well on a telly, and now, see them on YouTube and things. Many people in America, many children are having memories. And there was one, and this little boy, from the age of 2, he had terrible dreams. He was constantly waking up screaming. The parents had a lot of problems. They took him to the church, because they were very religious people. They lived in America. Completely different people who have no idea, don't talk about reincarnation, completely unacceptable to their beliefs. But then you have a little child, 2, 3 years, he learned to speak, says he has a different name, and he died in an aeroplane. And he's terrified of planes when he hears any noises and things. And, the parents seeing a child suffering, put in question their own beliefs and went to the research. And they were actually, because he kept saying his name was Jim too. And, the parents could not understand where he got this from. But eventually they went to find out. The father, he did some research work or something. So he was able to go and research and find out through what this little boy was telling them. They decided to listen to what he was saying, the stories he was saying. And he kept doing drawings of planes and all kinds of things. And through one of the drawings, he went to the military history and one thing and another. He actually found who the person was he died. I think he was 27, something like this, or 24, something. He died. He was bombed during the Second World War. He came from a family that I think his grandfather, his father had the same name as James, so he was called Jim too. That's how the family used to call him, Jim too, because his father had the same name. And they were actually, at the time that he died, he had a sister, I think she was about 2, 3 years old or something. And they actually went to meet her. she accept they wrote to this lady, which now, and it was, at the time when they were doing the work, they found the family, who the family was and everything. And she accepted to actually meet him. And they didn't say who she was or anything. She was with other members of the family, and he went straight to her. The little boy, he went straight to her and said, "You're my sister." And then, of course, the conversation they didn't show, and there are so many cases like this now, so many cases. And I think a lot of people, most people, I remember they did the research some years ago, and almost like 70%, they didn't know exactly, but they accepted that there was reincarnation, they had other lives. So it's becoming much more acceptable, I think, the idea. And because now research as well is so much easier. In this Actually, I think the program was called A Stranger in My Child's Heart or something like
Yes.
that. And there were so many different people, people who went to Vietnam, and he actually found his name in that monument that they have for the Vietnam people, veterans that died in Vietnam. He actually found his name. There's so many things, and these children don't know each other. They are babies, and they wake up in terrible dreams and everything. And this boy, actually, after they found it, he doesn't have the dreams anymore. And there's so many cases. So I think now it's quite difficult for people. No, I don't believe in this. It's just very, very hardcore people who are afraid, I think. And as we know as well, a relationship in the body that we bring in is very much to do with what we have, because also I think reincarnation is in many ways, most ways anyway, is a readdressing of wrongs, what we've done wrong in the past, and we choose to do better this time. So it's very, and I think we are very lucky, because not only we have the teachings of the Spirit, and we still continue having the teachings of the Spirit in Brazilian Spiritism. The way it developed, we have many books by that were psychographed by Chico Xavier and Divaldo Franco and many others, and that we learn a lot more. And I think just one point before I finish, and I think you pointed out, we tend to be born in a family with the same people, and it's very common sometimes that there is a person and they are the most wonderful person, but they can't stand their relatives. They don't like their brothers or sisters. They have a problem with one person or another. So without even knowing, because we want to be friends, we have to learn to live together. And so sometimes many illnesses that we have, especially in childhood, it's to do with the past. But I think one point that is very, very important, and one of the things that Spiritism teaches us, that nothing, absolutely nothing is written in stone. Every case has its own merit. We cannot judge, oh, this is equal. Yes, there is the law of progress, there is that law, but each case is judged by its own merit. It's very common that a child will be born with physical defects or mental problems, and it has to do with their lives. Most times they are because in the past they did something wrong, and that they deteriorated. Their body, their spiritual body will reflect. So when we are born again, our spiritual body will reflect the problems that we have in the past, and we have the problems with the physical body that we have. But not every case is a case. Sometimes a spirit of very high standing, very pure spirit, who in the family where they were living, they still love them, they progress, and they decide to come maybe in a difficult, in a body that they cannot do much to help the family. So not everything, and I, this thing about what people say karma. reincarnation is not punishment, it's justice. I think Charles made a point about this before. We're not being punished by being reborn. Even if we have certain illnesses and everything, is a gift that's given us to get better, to learn more. Most of us, most of times, we've participated and asked for the experience we're living through. So I think it's very important, and where the knowledge of the spirits came to us differ sometimes with the way people understand. And another thing, once we arrive at the stage that we are as a human beings, we will never reincarnate as an animal that is inferior to, if, not that they are not good people, good things. It's not in that sense, but we have arrived at the stage that we have free will. We make our choices, and the animals still don't. They still live within the boundaries that's created to them. Human beings are the only ones who make their choices, who, you may be, I think we're talking about being born poor or rich. If you were born maybe in one country, like I was born in one country and I live in another country, I made that choice to change, or we do something, we are the only ones who have choices. And that means that the choices we are able to make, we have responsibilities for what we do. And that's why we're not going to reincarnate in a creature that has not achieved yet that level of having free will. I think I find this an important point sometimes to talk about.
Exactly, Silvia. You made a point now about the metempsychosis that Spiritism can explain very well. That, as you said, our soul never reincarnate in an animal. We never come back as an animal, as a rat or viper or other things, or a cow, a dog, etc. But so, what grounds, Charles, and how does this distinguish Spiritist reincarnation from other traditions that teach soul transmigration, as metempsychosis, Silvia pointed now?
This is exactly, I think, one of the points which makes a difference. The rational way to see and to encompass the reincarnation, because reincarnating in an animal, would this really help a human spirit to progress? Intellectually, for sure not. Morally, very hardly as well. So it just does not make sense, And but what is sure is that the animals have souls as well, and that the soul of the animal are reincarnating as well and are progressing. This is also a fact that everybody can see, in particular with the domestic, with the pets and so on. They are getting less and less. They still have a lot of instincts, but you can see some signs of kind of intelligence or of sentiment or something like this. So the animals are progressing as well through reincarnation, but human not. It does not make sense. So, and the other thing is also the reincarnation as punishment. So Silvia told it very well. For instance, the notion of karma, which comes from Oriental religions, has exactly this kind of meaning of punishment and meaning also of something which is fatality. It's his karma, let it there. We cannot help him, otherwise we interfere in its karma and whatsoever. This type of things does not exist in Spiritism. We should help everyone wherever the situation. And also, as Silvia told it very well, reincarnation is not a punishment, is a choice. It's a choice of the spirit that we did of our life, our individuality, to reincarnate in order to progress. So it's not something which is mandatory or we reincarnate if and when we want so. So it's not heteronomic, it's autonomous. So I think this is also, and also punishment of God. God does not punish. The laws of nature are what they are. And if we infringe them, if we do something which is not in harmony with the laws of nature, there is some reaction. If we pull out of the window, as nature will do so, that we will fall down and hurt us when we reach the ground. So it's not a punishment of God, it's simply the laws of nature. And this is also to learn us how to behave and to live in the highest possible compliance and harmony with this natural law in order exactly to avoid these negative consequences which come back to us on acts that we commit as per our free will, and which is a simple reaction of the natural law and absolutely not a punishment of God. God, if he is infinitely just, he cannot punish. And the same is valid as well for the reincarnation when we are passing through difficult situations.
Charles, as you are an expert, in my point of view, about Leon Denis' works, especially here in Afton and others, what does Spiritism teach about the quality of existence between incarnations in the spirit world itself? Leon
So
Denis, in particular, writes extensively about this. What picture does he paint?
yeah, I mean, Leon Denis developed a lot this subject, but not only, Allan Kardec as well. I think the book second of the Spirit's book is about life in the spiritual world. This is our real world, I would say. Here we are in a temporary situation as being incarnated, but when we pass away, we go back to our real life where we came from, which is a spiritual life. And of course, the spirits have continuously activities. And I think now there are a lot of examples showing, illustrating how the life in the spiritual world is, like No Solar, for instance, book and movie. And by the way, also, there are some nice stories, well inspired, about uh, illustrating the progress of the spirit through the different incarnations. You have the Emmanuel from 2000 years ago, 50 years later, and avec Christ and renouncement, an example of different incarnation of the same spirit, a different existence in the same life, showing clearly the consequences of the wrong thing on one life, how it comes in another life, and also showing how all this process is helping the spirit to grow. There are some other examples like And Life Goes On, showing, and there is also a book and a movie showing another example of what is happening depend from one life to the other. But of course, in the spiritual world, the spirits are always active. They don't need to sleep like us, and they do not have material stuff, activities, but everything is in learning, helping, coaching, being mentor, and so on. So they have a lot of things, a lot of missions. Still, some spirits are taking care about nature, some others are taking care about animals to help them to progress as well. It's a very vast variety of activities that we can find in the spiritual world. And this period between passing away and the births, between two reincarnation, sometimes also called intermission period, is of very variable duration. It can vary from a couple of hours to hundreds of centuries. And it's again depending on the free will of the spirit. The spirit who does not want to reincarnate, nobody will force him to do so. And he can spend a lot of time before deciding to reincarnate again. huh? And according to some researchers and these cases of reincarnation, sometimes it appears that this intermission period is negative. Huh? So showing that a spirit is the reincarnation occurred before the passing away. So this is somehow conflicting with the spiritist paradigm, body of knowledge. But it's some facts are like this, so we need to study them and to try to find the right explanation, or maybe even to adjust the body of knowledge according to its progressive nature. There is a very interesting book also in English about reincarnation. It's Reincarnation Based on Facts by Carl Eugene Müller. So it's a Swiss guy who lived a lot in United States, and he wrote this book before passing away, and the book has been published by his successors early after passing away. It's very interesting, a lot of cases and a lot of explanation, a lot of situations. Very, very interesting book about reincarnation as well.
Very nice indeed. And we're talking about how long the spirit stay in the spiritual world. And you said, of course, a year or 2 years or centuries. No, we know that we have some report when we help spirits in our mediumship meetings that for a long time, from the more than a century, they are wandering according to their own free will. That is very important that we have our free will here. We still have our free will after our existence, and it's up to us. So we can stay for longer or we can just shorter and come back. I'd like to come back when I die. I'd like to come back quickly and retain some memories that what I'm doing now to continue doing the next life, next existence, better saying. That is very important. Né? Silvia, would you like to add something in this very interesting part that Charles commented?
Yes. I think that's one of the sometimes there is spirit that are in the spiritual for thousands of years, and they have the same memories of the where they were. For them, no time has passed. I think that's very important. Time has gone, but not for them. And they say, but I think eventually there is a time that they have to go, because they cannot be there forever. You cannot be in darkness forever. There will be a point in which their free will be overridden and they will have to reincarnate. But mostly we choose, because I think that's one of the things. Sometimes you think, oh no, with the exception, some spirits who do stay, most of us want to come back because that's the only way to progress, to go forward. Also, I think that there is a thing as well, that most of us, of course, we are beings from Earth, or some of us came from somewhere else and reincarnated on Earth. But some people, once they go to certain levels, they reincarnate in other planets. And people from other planets we reincarnate here.
That's
So
interesting.
that's why sometimes you see spirits that are extremely advanced. They bring, such a progress for humanity. One human, example of the cuff, someone like Albert Einstein, who transformed the knowledge, the understanding of physics in the first part of the 20th century. And still nowadays, they're still finding things that were part of his theory that was, being proved. So there are spirits from superior worlds who reincarnate here. And also, I mean, there are times in which the spirits, the planet is progressing, but some spirits keep holding on to wars and that kind of thing, and they will be reincarnated in a planet that is below the Earth in understanding. And I think one thing that's very important to understand is that it's not a punishment, because they go to reincarnate in a planet that they have to face a lot more difficulties. But they are more advanced than the people in that planet. who are natural beings on that planet. And they will bring the knowledge that they have here to that one. So they helping the others to progress as well. So I think the important is nothing is lost. Everything's part of the learning.
Yeah.
And it talking about, you're talking about life as well in between worlds, while we are in a spiritual world.
Yeah.
In the spiritual world, we I think, like Charles was pointing out, the spirits don't need to sleep, so they work very hard, and the more advanced the spirit, the harder they work. And also there is schools where you learn, that you go to many difficult things, and you go to many experiences there. And then when you reincarnate, you bring that knowledge that you acquire there, and you put into practice here. You learn more here the next time, and we are constantly progressing and going forward. And that's I think there is a question. It's interesting that, because Charles was talking about that earlier, about the justice reincarnation, and it's in the Spirit's book. In question 171, Kardec asked the spirits, what foundation is there for the doctrine of reincarnation? And the answer from the spirit is the justice of God and revelation.
Yes, very nice.
Are not all men God's children? It is only among selfish humans that unjust, implacable hatred and miserable punishments are to be found. So this we are learning to love one another. We learn that we're part of this humanity, and we are progressing. And it's interesting because Jung has this quote. He says that mankind will not progress as a whole, but there'll be individuals within humanity that will progress faster, and getting to the individuation and everything, and the strength of the unconscious will carry others with them. And I think that's exactly what we learn in Spiritism, is the decision I make, I'm going to be a better person now than I was before.
For sure.
And I can progress faster, isn't it? It's
Yes,
nobody can do the work. I have to realize, and I can do the work. And the number of incarnations we have will depend how much effort we put. So
exactly.
there is nothing, everybody's the same. Some spirits will always choose the right path, and they go faster. So
Very
another
nice,
point as
Silvia.
well, I think is something that Charles was saying, that we choose to come and live. And there are more spirits allocated to the planet Earth, for instance, because that's where we are. There are more spirits than there are people living in the planet.
Yes.
And we do very much like to reincarnate. It takes time sometimes. It's quite difficult, because sometimes, even if though we want to come, we need to give space to other people. So I
Yeah.
think there are a lot more there, and we wanted to reincarnate. And thinking about
Wonderful.
you're both talking about the books. If anyone is interested, this collection of Chico Xavier, that he psychographed with André Luiz, that is life in the spiritual world, how the spirits communicate, and many of the films and the books that Charles quoted. And it's interesting because now they have another book now, didn't they? They made another film, Sex and Destiny, I think, which is one of the most important books of the collection. And there are 14 books, The Life in the Spiritual World, and the relationship between the spirits, between us and the spirits, us and each other, and how everything is connected. And, if you read Portuguese, you can read it there. The books are there, but there are many of the books translated already, and now they have some of the films, which gives an idea, because also there are some very dark parts in the spiritual world, isn't there? There are very dark parts.
Very nice, Silvia. I
But
think now
the
have to put our
important thing,
announcement.
it's finished now, but the very important thing is, it depends on us. The places we go to in the spiritual world will only depend on ourselves. So
Wonderful.
it's a fascinating subject. There's lots to learn and lots to talk about. So there you are.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now, went so fast
Time
that
is
you already,
fugit.
Yeah,
yeah,
Time is
we
fugit.
have
but
to do
that's,
a second about the subject because there is a lot more to say. Yeah, Silvia
yes,
said
we can
we
Yes.
don't
return on it.
remember the past life and how
Yes. And
our past
birthmarks
life
as well,
therapies
isn't it,
and a lot of
Charles?
things. Huh?
Yeah,
Birthmarks, sometimes we are born with
June Tucker,
things in our
talk about,
bodies and everything. That's a whole, there'll be
yeah.
a
We
whole
can bring next
discussion
time. Okay,
for
we
a whole
promise it to our
subject.
audience.
Yeah.
Okay, because I see
Yeah.
people watching here, but it's time for
Because
us
that
to
is the
finish the
biology,
studio.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's time for us to finish the studio StreamYard, Kardec Radio, and you have your announcements. But Charles, you can say your goodbye. Goodbye to everyone. Enjoy your time with
Yeah.
us, and
Thank you so much for having us and giving us a possibility to share our views and our ideas and our understanding, our knowledge about this subject.
exactly. So, my dear people, make sure that you have time to watch 7 p.m. Sunday, Marlene Nobre series that I will be talking about my life with Marlene. I will reveal things that no one knows, okay? And continue with us next week, next Wednesday,
Mm,
our dear Rodrigo Ortega from Spain, past life therapy and mediumship. That will be a wonderful subject as well.
that's my subject.
Yes, very nice. It is up to you, Silvia, because you are a good therapist. So we have this coming 18th of July, a young lady talking about how to approach spiritist topics in order to engage with young people. That will be great because she is part of weekly studies youth people in Europe. Every Saturday, 10:30, the Media's book course is a wonderful with Charles, Munir, and Guilherme online. Genesis book every Wednesday is a course. We record it, people participate because it's a very nice book to read in together that we can learn together. Also, the International Spiritist Congress, Joana de Angelis, Portugal, Fabrício and from the UK are organizing Overcoming the Pains of the Soul, the Path to Mental Health, August in Fátima, Portugal. Also, we have in September, 9th European Spiritist Gathering, Castel Vergemont, near Liège. So you have the website, spirit.be. BE. You can BE. You can make your enrollment and participate with us. Spiritist Magazine, a very nice topic. I have an article in this magazine as well, and I hope you enjoy to read it online, free online. And we say thank you so much for Kardec Radio, BAS, our federation, Life Spiritist Society, Irish Spiritist Federation, and the Movement Spirit Francophone, that Charles is a representative here in our life. So, my dear people,
That's
thank you
beautiful.
all for being part with us in this wonderful topic. And God bless you. See you next time, Charles and Silvia. Thanks so much.
Enjoy the summer.
Oh, it's hot a lot. Thank you so much.